Hi, I'm McKenna, and my chapter in the book is called Asymmetrical Irrationality, Are Only Other People Stupid? So what I'm doing in this chapter is bringing together two literatures. The first is the empirical literature on political cognition. Specifically, it's literature on whether there are partisan differences in the rationality of views about politics and scientific issues of a clear political dimension, such as climate change. Put crudely, and very much narrowing my focus to the US, the question in this literature is, do Democrats have more rational views about these things than Republicans? So that's the first literature. The second is the literature in epistemology on epistemic rationality. Epistemologists, like all philosophers, are very interested in drawing distinctions. And what epistemologists working on rationality do is draw distinctions between types of rationality. There's a very important difference between prudential rationalities, what is in your best interests to believe, and epistemic rationality, what the information available to you makes it rational for you to believe. That's one central distinction. Then there are also important distinctions we've drawn within epistemic rationality itself. Some epistemologists think of it in, if you like, internal terms. To be rational is to form beliefs based on how things seem to you. Others think of it in more external terms, if you like. To be rational is to do a good job of forming accurate views. And the important thing is that these two ways of thinking of epistemic rationality can come apart, because it's entirely possible that how things seem to you and what you take the evidence to be supports is very different from how things really are. Now, the importance of all these distinctions becomes clear, I think, when we look at the literature on political rationality. So in this literature, some researchers point to many areas of divergence between Democrats and Republicans, for example, about the causes, reality, and severity of climate change. And they argue that this shows that, well, one side of this political divide must be more rational in their beliefs about these issues than the others. Other researchers, on the other hand, argue that these areas of divergence are overstated. Still, other researchers argue that, while these areas of divergence might exist, that doesn't mean that one side is more rational than the other, because people on both sides, as it turns out, actually form their beliefs about these kinds of things in much the same way. Put crudely on that picture, we're all biased. We all try to kind of conform how we think about these things to our existing political views. It's just that some people's biases point them in, if you like, the right direction, whereas other people's biases point them in the wrong direction. Now, a crucial question to ask, and the question that I'm asking in my chapter is, well, what do these researchers mean by rationality? First of all, do they mean prudential or epistemic rationality? If they do mean epistemic rationality, how are they thinking of it? Do they think of it in internal or external terms? That is, do they focus on whether people conform their beliefs, what they take the evidence to be, so that's the internal sense, or do they focus on whether people generally end up forming accurate views, that's the external sense? A crucial role for the epistemologist, and the political epistemologist in particular, is to address and ultimately answer these kinds of questions. And in my chapter, I make a start at doing this. I can't promise you the answers, but hopefully reading it will help you start thinking about these issues in the way in which an epistemologist would. So happy thinking.